Hi guys, so today I think I'm going to finally do another paranormal vlog. I'm going to do the vlog on my house. My house is haunted. I'm going to give you first a quick overview of like the history, just really quick. There's not much history to it. And also, I'm just going to tell you like the main things that stick out in my head that have happened here because I've had so many experiences in my house. I would seriously be here for hours telling you all the stories, but I'm just going to tell you like the main things. And if you guys like it, I might do like a part 2 or even maybe a part 3 to tell you more stories of things that have happened here, just to give you a brief overview. So first of all, I live in a subdivision, and this is like a fairly new one. It's only been here not even 15 years. My house is 13 years old. My family was the first family to ever live in this house. It was a brand new house when we moved in. And I've been here for 13 years. So, yeah. And we were one of the first people to move into the sub. So, none of these houses are old at all. And obviously nothing's happened in this house before. However, my mom did some research like a few months ago, and she found out that where my house sits and like this whole subdivision and also a few miles down the road in both directions used to be a farm. Like it was owned by one family and it was just a big farm. That's all I know. I don't know how many people lived on it. I don't know if anybody might have like died or something on it. I have no idea. And also I know like way back when, this whole city that I live in used to be an Indian trading ground. So you never know, like way back then people died left and right. So you don't know. And a lot of people try to tell me that there's no way your house can be haunted because nothing ever happened there. Nobody died there, nothing ever. But people don't realize that spirits and ghosts, they can move from like house to house. Like maybe something happened in someone else's house for all I know, and they came over here. Maybe it followed me home. Maybe there's an object in my house that something is attached to. Maybe it's attached to the grounds, you know what I mean? So you don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Bottom line, I don't know. So the activity in my house, I've noticed for a long time. Like since I've basically moved in, I've realized that there's activity. And I always would tell my parents, and they'd be like, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. There's nothing going on here. And like when I was younger, I would see things. Like I would see this like 7-foot tall almost, like black shadowy thing. And I know it sounds crazy. I haven't seen it since, but I would see it a few times and it was just crazy. And my stereo, like my stereo and TV and stuff would turn on and off by themselves, and I would have like these dreams about seeing this little girl in my garage, and her name was Grace. It was so weird, I don't know. And like as soon as I'd have one of those dreams, I'd wake up and then like something would move or I'd hear something. I don't know, it was really crazy. But that was when I was younger. That's why I used to think my house was haunted. Now within like the last 2 years, the activity has really picked up. And my parents notice it, and now they are firm believers. Well, my mom is anyway. My dad's still like, oh, I don't believe it. But he knows that there's something here that he can't explain. So the activity is not harmful in any way. It's not scary. It's just like weird. My mom hears things all the time. Like, for example, she gets growled at a lot, she says, in the laundry room. And like my dogs will hear something. They'll both like stare up at the ceiling and just at the same thing, same time, and they'll just like stare. Sometimes they'll bark at it. My dog, she will, I remember this one time, she was standing in like this hall that I have here's my kitchen, and then here's like the bathroom, dining room, living room. My house is like a circle, and then the stairs are in the middle basically. And I was standing in my kitchen, and she was in front of the bathroom, and she looked terrified, like looked horrified. And I was just like, Ella, come here, like what are you doing? Like she was freaking me out. I wanted her over here because she was just staring and looked terrified. And she starts like creeping forward a little bit, and then she like stopped, and then she like backed up. And she looked so scared to come forward. And I was like, Ella, come on, like, what are you doing? And then it looked like something scared her from behind. Like if you kind of come up behind a dog, you kind of go like, oh, like to like their backside. They kind of jump a little bit. Like, I mean, I do that. But it looked like someone had done that, because she turns around and she looked horrified, and she was just like shaking and so scared. And I was like, Ella, come on, like, what are you doing? And she looked at me, and then she ran all the way around and over to me, and she hid behind me, and she would not go near that bathroom. It was so weird. It only happened the one time. And I remember another time, my basement, a few things had happened in my basement actually. The door, my dad, he was trying to open the basement door, and it never sticks, ever. And he said he was trying to like open it, and the handle would turn, but it wouldn't pull open. And it was weird because it wasn't sticking, like there was space between, there's no lock on the door. It was so weird. And he was like pulling it. He said that it felt like somebody was holding it closed, and he's pulling it, and nothing happened. And he kept pulling it kind of like a tug and war, and then eventually it just like flew open. Like something was holding it, and then it just let go. And he thought it was the weirdest thing. And he opened and closed it fine after that. Never happened before or after that. And he thought it was so weird. My basement lights will turn on and off by themselves. Like, we won't see it happen, but they'll just happen. Like, we have a light going down to the stairs, and the bathroom's in front of the basement door. So if you walk over there, you can see if the light's on or not. My parents will be like, oh, the lights are on, turn them off, guys. They'll blame it on me and my brother. And he'll go sit down, and then they'll come back to the bathroom and be like, why is the light on? And nobody will be down there. Another time, my dad was in the basement, and he was, I don't know exactly what he's doing. I think he was like getting something out of the refrigerator down there. And my basement is all cement. The walls are cement. The floor is cement. And we have these folding chairs leaning up against the wall across from like where the refrigerator is. And he said he heard this huge bang. It scared the hell out of him. And he looks over, and one of the chairs is in the middle of the room. Like, he couldn't explain it. It wasn't like somebody had, it was just like up there kind of shaky, and it like moved. I mean, it's solid cement ground. It's not going to shake. And he tried experimenting with it. He put the chair back up. He tried pushing it over, and it would fall, but not with the same amount of force. And it would just land right where it fell. It wouldn't like move into the middle of the room. The only way he could get the chair to go back to where it was when he pushed it with force, and it slammed on the ground and then slid across the floor. It's the only way he could repeat it. He's like, I don't know how that happened. It didn't just fall over. And another time, the light bulbs exploded. It was crazy. Like, we went down in the basement, and we turned on the light, and it just exploded. It was ridiculous. And then to, like, pick up the pieces and went over for another light switch. It wasn't a light switch. It's like one of those, like, pulley cord things. We pulled it. That one exploded. It was nuts. It scared the hell out of me. Like, the light bulb exploded. It shattered. And another time in the basement, this is just another one that sticks out to me, and I'll stop at the basement. We had this, like, garden wagon thing that my dad got my mom, and it's plastic. And we have a bunch of outdoor furniture that has, like, cushions on it. And the cushions were sitting on the wagon so that they didn't get, like, dirty on the floor or whatever. I don't even know how this whole thing started, but they were sitting in the wagon. And my parents would go downstairs, and they would be sitting on the floor next to the wagon. They would get really mad at me and my brother, thinking it was us. And they would be like, oh, yeah, you guys are so funny, like, trying to mock us that there's a ghost in here. And they kept blaming us. It kept happening, and they kept putting him back in. They kept ending up on the floor, and it happened for like a week straight. And finally my dad was just like, I don't care, I give up, they're just going to stay on the floor. And he goes down there, and they were back in the wagon, like they had moved back in. And he got so mad at me and my brother, he thought it was us. He's just like, stop moving the damn cushions, I'm getting pissed, like, stop. And we're like, that's not us. Why would we go downstairs and move cushions? Like, we have better things to do. And he didn't believe that we weren't doing it until one day, my brother wasn't even home, and I was upstairs the whole time. My dad went down there to get something out of the fridge because we were about to have like a summer party thing. And my mom jokingly said, oh, are the cushions in the wagon or whatever? And he's like, yeah, they're in there, no big deal. Comes back up, not even 5 minutes later, goes back down there, they're on the floor, out of the wagon. And obviously it wasn't me and my brother because I was upstairs the whole time and he wasn't home. And then they finally believed it wasn't us. And then my mom she likes to test things. She's an experimenter. So she would like stack things. She would stack them in like weird formations, and then she would put stuff on top of them and see if it would all move that way. And next time she went down there, they would be on the floor, stacked in the same weird formation with the stuff on top, stacked the same way. And she would take pictures before and after. Like, she'd take a picture of how she stacked it, and she would take a picture of it after, and it would be exactly the same. Like, the whole thing was just lifted up in place. Like, she would put, like, chairs on it and, like, picture frames and set stuff up, and it wasn't like it was all just thrown on top. Like, it was exactly the same. It was crazy. It was really weird. I don't know. And finally, I don't know if it happened since, because my brother and sister-in-law took those, so I don't know. But they don't have a basement, so I don't know. Friends have also noticed that there's things here. My room, I have a queen-size bed right here, and then across the hall we have like a guest room, and that has like a futon. It's a queen-size futon. And when I have friends stay the night, it'll be like 3 or 4 of us. I'll be nice and I'll let my friends sleep in my room, and then me and Nick, maybe one of my other friends, will go sleep on the futon. And I remember one time though, I for some reason was sleeping in my room instead. And my friends come running in my room, and they are just like, oh my god, I saw something in there. I saw something. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And one of my friends claimed that she saw like this black, like figured man, like standing in the corner of the room. And I was like, girl, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? And then I remembered, hey, I saw that like a few years ago. So that was kind of weird. And then another time they were staying here, and they were in my room, and I was in there. And then the next morning, I come into my room, and they look horrified, and they're just like, you are not going to believe this. And I said, what? And they said, your TV keeps turning on and off by itself. And I was just like, what the hell? Because it's never happened before. And I was like, yeah, right, no big deal. So we're sitting in my room just like talking, and then my TV turned itself on, and it turned itself off. And then a few seconds later, turned on, turned off, turned on, changed the channel, turned off. And I have a TV box, like, it's not just like whatever. And then I was starting to think like, oh, maybe they have the remote or something. I start looking for it, and the remote is on the other side of the room. And I was like, oh my god. And it only happened like 3 or 4 more times, and then it stopped, and it hasn't done it since. So that was really weird. And then another time they were staying here, the next morning they were just like, we heard something downstairs. Like, we heard people walking and talking, and nobody would be down there. So they noticed stuff too. My brother, he claims to be a skeptic, but I really don't think he is. He's actually just a big scaredy cat. I remember one night he came home, and I heard him, because our walls are really thin. I heard him walk in the door, whatever. I'm in my room, my parents are asleep. And I could hear him like downstairs like eating or something, and then all of a sudden he like books it up the stairs, like he's running, and he comes up to my door and he goes, Amanda, is your TV on? And I said, no. Why? And he goes, no reason. And I'm like, okay. And he's just like, I'm just gonna go up to my room. Do you care if will you go turn off the lights for me? And I'm just like, no, you can do it. And he's just like, will you go with me? And I was like, okay, whatever. So we go turn off the lights. And he had to go up the stairs before me and all this weird stuff. And I was like, what the hell's his deal? And then the next day, he's just like, I heard something. Like, I heard somebody talking to me. And I thought it was your TV, and it wasn't. And I was scared. And I was like, okay. So that was weird. He heard something. Another time, my mom said that she heard someone talk to her. She was so scared. She was in the bathroom. And it was like really early in the morning, because my mom wakes up really early because she's weird. And my dad was already at work. My brother was asleep. I was asleep. And one of my dogs' name is Ella. And she said she was in the bathroom. And the TV was off, mind you. And my dogs were asleep when she went to the bathroom. She said while she was in there, my dog, Ella, she started like growling. Like a terrified, like protective kind of growl. And then she heard a man say, oh, Ella. And it scared the hell out of her. And she said that she locked the door and turned off the lights, and she tried staying really quiet because she thought that somebody, and she stayed in there for a good like 5 minutes. And then she slowly opened the door like expecting to see somebody, and there wasn't anybody there. And then she said my dog looked horrified, like shaking, scared. And she thought, okay, maybe Zach woke up, my brother. So she goes upstairs and he's asleep, snoring loud as can be, and she has no explanation for it. It scared her. Scared her really loud. She said it was a guy. She heard it clear as day. Another thing that happens a lot here is that the doors will lock themselves and open and close themselves. It's annoying. Primarily the garage door will do that. And the front door too, but primarily the garage. Like, my dad one time, he went out to the garage for something, closed the door behind him. Not even like 30 seconds later, he's like banging on the door, and I'm like, what the hell? So I go unlock it, open it, and he's like, why'd you lock the door? Like, you knew I was coming back. I was like, what are you talking about? Why would I lock the door? That happens all the time. Or I'll get home late, my parents will leave the door unlocked for me, and I'll open it, I'll go to open it, and it'll be locked, and I'll be like, what the hell? And I'll call them and be like, come unlock the door, and they'll say, it is unlocked. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't lock it. And I remember one time, it scared me so bad. The door, it slammed on its own. And I know that the wind can, like, close and open doors a little bit, can sometimes, like, slam them. But this was a day, there was no breeze outside at all. None of the windows were open. The garage door wasn't open. Everything was just closed. No breeze, no wind, no nothing. My dad, he was in the garage for something, and I was sitting on the couch in the living room, which is very far away from the garage door. And all of a sudden, it just slams. And I thought it was my dad. I thought maybe, I don't know, something happened and he got mad. And he comes running inside, and he goes, why did you just slam the door? I said, Dad, does it look like I've moved? Like, what are you talking about? I did not slam the door. And he goes, maybe the wind did it. I'm like, Dad, all the windows are closed. And even if they weren't, there's no breeze outside. Like, the windows didn't do that. The wind didn't do that. That kind of stuff happens all the time. Okay, I have one more weird story for you guys, and then I think I'm going to hold off on the ghost stories for now. So, this was like, it was in the summer, so I want to say a good couple, like, 3-ish months ago. 2, 3, I don't know. It was September. That's all I know. It was the beginning of September, so like 2 months ago, 2.5? I don't know. Anyway, my dad and my parents, well, yeah, my parents and I were upstairs. The bathroom was right next to my room, and then my mom's room is like down the hall. And, my dad was in the shower. He wasn't, like, taking a shower, but he was standing in there because he was regrouting the shower. And I was in my room with my door open, and I was putting some clothes away, hanging some stuff up, whatever. My mom was in her room doing whatever. And there's this shower caddy thing. It's like one of those, like, racks. You can put, like, your shampoo and whatnot on it. And that was sitting up against the wall on an angle, like leaning against it, and all of a sudden it like fell over, and I go in there and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, oh, it just fell over, no big deal. I didn't think anything of it because I thought, I don't know, maybe the floor shook a little bit, knocked it over, maybe it's top heavy, I don't know. I didn't think anything of it. But then I got kind of, you know, whatever. So I put everything back in it, leaned it back up against the wall, back to what I was doing. Like 30 seconds later it happens again, and I'm like, really? And I go in there, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to experiment. I put everything on exactly how it was, leaned it against the wall, and I try walking by it, running by it. I'm jumping up and down right next to it. I'm trying to, like, lean like this on the floor. I'm trying it all over the bathroom. I stood in the shower and tried, like, jumping up and down. Nothing would knock this over. Nothing. It didn't happen. Like, it wasn't happening. And I was like, screw it. Whatever. And it fell over again, and I was just like, whatever, I'm just not going to pick it up this time. And I have this big bottle of baby oil. It's huge. It's like this big, full, big, like, it's an odd shape too. It's like curvy, big bottle of baby lotion. So, or baby oil, I mean. And it was laying on the floor because it was in the caddy thing, and it just kind of, you know, fell over, whatever, I gave up. And all of a sudden we hear this big, like, bang, and we're like, what the hell was that? So we go in there. I thought maybe, I don't know, my dad fell or dropped something. My mom came in there. She's like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. And I look at the shower caddy thing, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, did it fall over? He's like, no, it was already laying over. And then I notice the huge bottle of baby oil is gone. And I look in the hallway that's right across from the bathroom door, and it's laying in the hall right next to the wall. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, Dad, did you like throw this out here? He's like, I haven't moved. My mom obviously didn't do it. I didn't do it. It was so weird. And then me and my mom, we go into like ghost hunting mode because we're weird. And we get out the camera and we set it up on my tripod and we put it in the hall. And I have it on this caddy thing, and I'm just like, I want to see what's happening. And of course, nothing happened for a while. And then I heard another bang, and I go out there and I look, and there's a bar of soap on top of the camera. It was on top of the camera, and I said, what the hell? Like, what? How did it get here? And I was like, Dad, did you put this here? He's like, no. He didn't even notice. And then my mom said that the bar of soap that was on it was actually sitting on the countertop to the sink. So we go back, we watch the tape, and of course I didn't have the camera set up high enough to see the soap because that's not what I was focused on. And you heard it bang, but you didn't see it. My dad didn't move, but you heard me come out and say, what was that? Like, so you knew when it happened. But you didn't see anything like happen. And I know that it wasn't there before because why would I put a bar of soap on top of my camera? Like, it doesn't make sense. So it was weird. Like, I don't know. It hasn't happened since. Whatever. It was just odd. So yeah, that's just some of the weird things that have happened here. If you guys thought this was interesting, I will tell you more stories in a different video because this one's getting very long. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.